Hello, it's Lori from Did You See That Show? Just getting everything set up here. Sorry, I should have done this ahead of time. Here we go. Today we're going to be talking about the TV shows, the ones from 2026, new ones coming out, old ones, nostalgic ones, you name it, we could talk about it. Uh, so, start off with, let's talk about some of the shows from 2026 because they've actually started in 2025. But let's start with the NCIS series. So NCIS has three series. And to be honest with you, I only watched two. I watch NCIS and I watch Origins. I don't really care for NCIS Sydney. To me, it just seems kind of weird that they're having it uh, in another country, but that's just me. My wife tends to really like it, so I am really enjoying NCIS Origins. For me, I think the casting is really good especially for the actor who plays Mike. I mean, my God, that couldn't have been better casting, no matter how hard they tried. Um, I think it was perfect. I love his character. I like the other characters. As far as the actor that plays Jethro, I think he's got a little bit too broad of shoulders to make it a little bit to make it believable for the current, no, actually past Jethro, but from the NCIS series, I think the shoulders should have been a little bit smaller. But other than that, it does a pretty good job. I like all the other characters. I like the side stories. I like how they're introducing things. I like how they're uh, mingling the characters. I love that they introduced Ducky and um, other characters. You can see how they get along with the FBI and so forth. And let's not forget that they kind of mentioned, pride and stuff from NCIS New Orleans. That was a nice plus. I really enjoyed that. Uh, and, Fernell, they kind of mentioned him, so we'll have to wait and see how that one develops. I'm really looking forward to the next season. I like how Jethro all of a sudden got married again. It does kind of follow the story. To me, I think if they rush it too much, it could only be like a 5-year series, which, that might be their whole plan for, I don't know. But once you get about 5 years, you can get on to syndication, which I'm sure is one of their main things. Now let's talk about NCIS, the original series, for a little bit. Without Gibbs, I'm still trying to get used to it. There's a transition. I think they're moving a little bit better towards it now. I really am shocked that they killed off the director, but I could see a fantastic way that they go. A lot of rumors buzzing on the internet that McGee is going to take over being the director, and that I'm just having a brain fart here. Sorry. Um, the daughter is going to join the team, which would be really good plus. And I think the characters are doing pretty well. Still trying to get used to this whole new team thing, but is it as good as it was when they had Gibbs? No, but it's still pretty good. And I think, they have potential for, doing better, as a lot of shows do. And I think the last couple of episodes have gotten a little bit better because of that. So let me know, let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking of it, because I'd love to hear from you. So now, as far as other shows, I also watch FBI. I like FBI. not one of my favorite shows, not one of my worst shows. Isn't one that I get super, super excited for, but it does follow some good stories. I think they have too many characters come and go, too many characters killed off, but that's just my opinion. So, we'll have to see, how that goes. But the stories themselves are very good and very interesting. Um, so, that takes care of FBI. Now they started some, you know, other shows. I don't really watch CIA. My wife does. She says it's fair, so I can't really judge too much on that. So I won't. Let's move on. I have been watching Chicago Med since the very beginning. Uh, Getting a little bit boring, a little bit, maybe a little bit too long of a run. Maybe the show writers need to come up with something a little more original. I like the characters at the beginning, some of these newer characters, and when I say newer characters, they've been around 3-4 years or so, but I don't know. They just didn't develop to me as strongly as the original characters. So I'm going to give it time. I like the show. I'm going to keep watching it. Uh, Maybe they need a shake up and, new characters or maybe some returning characters coming back or just some stronger roles. The doctor turnaround is just too much for me. I get it if it was more of a teaching hospital, but these aren't really the residents or anything like that. So again, we'll have to, see how the show goes. It's been around for a long time, so uh, something different has to happen in order to keep people for all of these years. So we'll have to see. I don't really watch the other Chicago series. Again, I only have so much time and I do have a real job that I work with. So, uh, and with Chicago Med, it seems like they get more into the stories of the characters rather than medical issues. And seeing that I work in the medical profession, I'm just in imaging, nothing special. But, I would like to see a little bit more tied with the medical and so forth. Which brings us to my favorite show, The Pit, which is almost 100% medical issues and just a touch of their personal issues. I do like that combination, and I have to say it's a very intense show. I've worked in major trauma centers, and it does get that intense, but that intensity one after another, after another, after another. Yeah, usually there's a little bit of a break and a little bit of you know, so forth. Sorry, getting to delete this comment here. Put that timer and put that user in timeout. But the show deals with a lot. Just being attacked by patients. Thoughts of suicide, breakdowns, emotional things, characters being involved with each other, and so forth. It's a lot. Just one issue, one episode can bring up so many issues that it isn't even funny. Now, I'm not a doctor, and I can't say, but from what little I do know, they seem to follow somewhat of what they would actually follow in an actual trauma or medical emergency. I'm sure some of it is inaccurate. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. I've listened to some of the podcasts of doctors that watch it, and they say like 90% of it is actually how they would treat the patient. So you're getting a lot of that, just emotion one after another, and you do develop a bond with these characters, even though you don't learn a super lot about their personal lives. They've done it in just such a dramatic way that you do, and that's the writing. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, because the last two episodes, the Night Doctor has joined them and they call themselves the Night Crawlers, that let's have a spin-off. And I've heard actually Noah Wiley said that it's too early in the series, that a spin-off would take away from the actual series. Spin-offs usually don't come until like season 6 or 7. So he probably does have a point with that. So, we'll have to see how that goes. And again, I look forward to seeing that. I've actually watched that show a couple of times. Let me know in the comments if you have a favorite character from the show, if you think it's just, too emotional. They're dealing with uh, all sorts of, just weird things, emotional traumas, like I said, patients attacking workers. I think that they handled the ICE situation really well. I could actually see it happening like that. It's just it's an emotional roller coaster. If you're wanting a show just to relax and chill and be mindless, this might not be the show for you. But it is an excellent show, and it is one of my favorite shows, and I can't say that enough. Uh, which let's bring us to another medical show, Grey's Anatomy. It's been around for a long time. We've seen residents come and go. We've seen doctors come and go. Um, we've seen them somewhat come back in dreams and so forth. So, that show is a little bit more focused on relationships and the hospital. I think some of their hospital stuff is a little far-fetched. I've worked in many hospitals. I've never seen people having sex in hospitals that many times. It's a little bit more Hollywood style or TV style than reality. So keep that in mind. I wish we would see a little bit more Meredith, since she is the main character. But, I understand that she's been doing it for a long time. I think of all of the doctors that are on that show, I think Owen was probably one of my least favorite. Not that I really had anything against it. He's just like, his personality just flipped just so easily, no matter what. It was just too much for me. And because of that, he wasn't one of my favorite characters. Like, he fell in love with like a drop of the hat. It's just too unreal for me. Some of my other favorite characters, obviously, one of my is Addison. I really like Addison. I liked her also in Private Practice. Amelia is another one. She has a lot of sides to her, which, are coming out through the long series and so forth. And she's a very interesting person and obviously very smart. This bunch of residents, I mean, you're never going to get to be like the old Magic. I think of obviously everybody's favorite back then was Meredith. After that, I would probably say my next favorite. I don't. I don't know. That's a tough one. Let me know in the comments who your favorite of the original one was. I thought George was okay. So again, we've seen residents. None of this new group. I could take them or leave them. They're not impressing me. Yes, everybody wants to know which shepherd is, is the resident. So we'll have to wait and see if they even tell us. Now it's gotten to the point where I don't really even care. Let's go back a little bit to Private Practice. I really liked that spinoff. It was different. It was, obviously they had a private practice. You dealt a little bit more with how private practice is versus hospital. And, it also had the emotional and the ties between the doctors themselves and the doctors and the patients. Um, so I really like that. I wish that they would come back. I'm hearing rumor that there may be a Grey's Boston, but I wish there would be a Grey's Boston, Grey's Texas. My only fear is that Levi moved to Texas. I really hope it's not a show about him. He was okay. I liked him, but again, he wasn't one of my favorite residents. Um, I liked him at the beginning. Yeah, I could have taken or leaving him. Mm, I just don't think that he is worth a whole show. Now let's go on to the 911 series. I've always loved 911. Now, a lot of that stuff just would never happen in the real world. Sorry. Um, and if weird stuff like that happened, it certainly wouldn't be treated the way that they treated on that show. So, you know, have to take that in mind. Again, it's going to, they want to shock and awe you with some of the stuff that they see. It's like not every day that you'll see after a storm, the wild animals from the zoo behind you and so forth. And, a little far-fetched for it to be real, but it's a TV show. It's entertaining, and that it is. It is entertaining. They have a great cast. Their characters are portrayed really well, and uh, because of that, I watch it and I really enjoy it. I really like Athena. I like all of the characters. There's really not a character that I don't like. We've got to see Athena's kids grow up and become more part of the 911 series. Now we also have 911 Nashville. Again, you have to realize that a lot of that stuff just would not happen like that. I'm not saying that some of these really weird encounters can't happen, but the paramedics just would never treat it like that. Again, it's TV. It is entertaining. I'll give you that. So I like that show also, and I take it for what it truly is, entertainment. I really wouldn't count it much as a medical type of show, either of the 911s, because it is just too far-fetched. But that's just, the way that it is. And, you either like it for the entertainment or you don't watch it because it's so far-fetched. Now they have Best Medicine. Yeah, that's kind of show, the season is just about over, and I'm still on the fence about it because, they've done stories like that before where, big doctor goes to small town and this is what happens. And it's not my favorite show, like I said. Is it watchable? Yes. Does it have potential? I think the writing has to get a little bit better. The acting is fine. So I'm a little on the fence on that show, which is why I really haven't covered it on the channel. One of my favorite things to do on this channel is the nostalgia shows. Like I did a Dick Van Dyke show. I love the Dick Van Dyke show. To this day, it's still funny. I still could watch it. I still could get a laugh. Very well written, very comedic. The acting is really well, as far as comedians, to this day, it's still funny, and you can't beat that. I Dream a Genie and Bewitched, and then I kind of pitted the two against each other because Bewitched started a show about a witch that married a mortal man, and the whole conflict thing there, and it was so popular that one of the other channels said, hey, we got to do something similar, and they came up with I Dream a Genie. And that had Barbara Eden, Larry Hagman. They had some problems with Larry Hagman and his drinking, so we'll have to see. We don't have to see, it already happened. they actually, had to do a lot of remakes, had to have him not in some episodes. I think the downfall of that show is, it had a lot of sexual tension between Jeannie and Tony. And once they got married, it just wasn't the same. So, I think that was one of the things that kind of ruined it. Um, how long the show could have lasted, I don't know. But again, that show, like if I caught it on, if I was up in the middle of the night and it was on one of these old channels or streaming channels, I might watch it a little bit. It was kind of cute. It was kind of funny. It was different. It was definitely entertainment. I liked it. I liked it when I was young. I remember that, that was, the time when I was a little kid and the whole family would gather at the downstairs TV and would watch a show like that, a nice wholesome show like that. Now, keep in mind, they had different rules, like they couldn't sleep in the same bed. If they were both in bed, one of them had to have like a foot on the ground. There were a lot of different, rules and stuff. It's not like TV today. Uh, Another one of those types of shows that I really enjoyed was Gilligan's Island. Uh, Very far-fetched, could never happen. But, it's like, how did these people on this island come up with these gadgets and stuff like that with what they have on, like I said, it definitely wasn't real, but it was entertaining. It was cute. It was a show that the whole family could gather around. And my situation, it came on right around dinner time. So we either watched it while we were eating dinner or it was right after dinner. And we would all go down to the downstairs TV because, in those days we only had one color TV. So we all went downstairs and watched that TV and as a family. And it was something that the whole family could enjoy. So, I grew up on family type of shows and I enjoy them. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with some of the other ones now, but, I like doing those types of shows. I'm thinking of doing one on the Mary Tyler Moore Show um, because, that was another iconic show. Um, Dallas is another one. Dallas got a little bit more of a nighttime soap opera type thing, and it wasn't necessarily one that you would watch with your little children. So this is about when the age of television became a little bit more individualized to like couples and the kids watch their own shows and yes, you could watch it because with the rating system, I'd say it was like GP, maybe a tad towards the R side, but they can't really have that stuff on TV. It wasn't that old family wholesome type of show, but it was a good show. I watched it. I think the Who Shot JR was definitely one of the most popular episodes in history. And I lived in Chicago at the time, and there was a big fire the same day. So the fire made the headline, but right underneath the headline was Who Shot JR. So it made the front page of the paper. That's how big it was. The Chicago, it was the Tribune, big paper. So, it was big. One thing that I noticed about a lot of those shows, and I don't know, I didn't really notice it so much when I was younger, but now that I'm a little bit older, is they drink a lot in those shows. And as we all know, that's kind of like what killed Larry Hagman. But all shows in general, I've noticed well, probably a little bit too much drinking. I don't mind seeing some drinking in shows. It's not that, uh, my wife is a recovering alcoholic. I am not. I never really cared too much for alcohol, but even daytime soap operas, man, they're always drinking, man. Yeah, they don't have to do that much drinking. And like, I admired when Dallas came back and they weren't doing the drinking on the shows. I kind of admired that. Does the drinking really add to it? And there's nothing wrong with, like, you know, at the show, hey, let's go to the local bar and have a drink, after a tough shift. There's nothing wrong with that, but this drinking, there's more to it. So yeah, went off on a rant. Sorry about that. We'll get back to Dallas, and then they had the spinoff Knots Landing. I'm thinking possibly doing a little thing on that. I like Knots Landing. It was interesting and not quite as good as Dallas. Again, that seemed at the time to be the type of show that was popular. They had Dynasty, those all, very rich type of socializing, manipulating, business, cheating, all those, that seemed to be the shows of that time. And we go through periods of time and so forth. So let's change shows a little bit. Let's see what other shows are there. We did the 911s. Let's go with Boston Blue, which is a spinoff of Blue Bloods. Is it as good? No. Hello, thanks for joining us here. Let's see. We have this real trillion hitter. Hi there. Thanks for joining us. I was talking about Boston Blue. It's my problem with Boston Blue is Blue Bloods was just such a New York show. It makes it a little far-fetched as to why all of a sudden, Sean and Danny are in Boston, and they tried to explain this by saying that there was a hiring freeze, and Sean had to go to Boston, got injured. Danny decided to move there. I don't know, because you would think, if anything, there are all the boroughs of New York and all those other things that it probably, I don't know, as big of a family is a little too far-fetched. And I would love to see a little bit more crossovers. We've seen the sister come again early in the morning. Brain fart here. Apologize. We've seen the grandfather come over. Love to see a little bit more of the characters pop over. Again, they're not telling us about the time length. Obviously, when Blue Bloods ended, Sean wasn't in the police academy or anything, so time had to go by and so forth for him to all of a sudden, be a rookie and so forth. How much time, we don't know. My best guess would be like 2 years have gone by, because it doesn't seem like too much else has changed other than, Danny is now dating, or is he? Because he's with his partner from New York, on again, off again type of thing. I kind of wish that they would make it, but bring her onto the show as a regular. I don't know. I think, just because Blue Bloods was so big, I think the show is going to be around a while. The whole Jewish thing with them. Now, I am Jewish. I'm not very religious, but it feels a little off for me. I mean, I kind of get it, but just something feels a little off. I think sometimes they push that a little bit too much. I think they just needed a reason to have a family dinner. But, they could have mentioned it and still had a Sunday dinner or something like that. They didn't have to make it more of a religious thing. It just feels a little off. So I guess I think there's one more episode left, when it comes back, we'll have to see. Obviously they're not going to be rookies anymore, but I could see their characters developing. You have the same type of dynamics, the mother is the DA, and cops in the family. Only this time you also have religious leader in the family. So we'll have to see it. It has potential. and the writing's good. It's not great, it's good. Uh, but sooner or later, Danny is getting a little bit older to be the one doing all the chasing and stuff like that. So, we'll have to see how it goes. We'll have to see if it shifts towards the younger people a little bit. And don't get me wrong, Danny can still do it. He's just, I think he should just slowly not do it quite as often so that it's a little bit more realistic, and that it gives the younger people a little bit better chance to develop their characters, uh, and so forth. So, uh, what other shows do I watch? That pretty much is most of the shows that I watch. Uh, Getting into some of the streaming ones. Let's see, I have to look at my notes here. Sorry, because early in the morning, had a late night, and I'm just going into a little bit of a brain fog here. Sorry, I have my other channel up. If you want to know anything about GLP-1 medications, GLP-1 journey and review, tells you all about that. Switch accounts. Here we go. So let's see what I have here. Talk a lot about the Star Treks. Okay. I'm probably one of the few people that actually liked Starfleet Academy. It didn't exactly follow the Prime directive. It was a little bit more like 90210 in Star Trek, but something, I like 90210, even though I was older when I watched it and so forth. Was it the best Star Trek? No. I do like Strange New Worlds. I'm anxious to see that one start up again soon, and see where that leads. I think they have 2 more seasons, one season and then a few episodes. Now, as far as Starfleet Academy, I guess they're just going to have like a 4 or 5 episode season, which is going to kind of wrap things up. I guess they expected a little bit more. I kind of like the funky characters of the captain and so forth. Didn't bother me. Again, it was quite young, and it was geared a lot towards teens. So, but I kind of like that kind of stuff. Sorry, my voice is going out. Just got back from vacation, and I'm trying to get back into the swing of waking up earlier and getting my voice back, as you can hear. Sound a little bit turtly, sorry. The original series, I loved it. Who didn't love it? Next Generation was my favorite. And can't go wrong with that. We'll have to see what comes out next. Always like the Star Trek ones, some obviously more than others. Never really got too into Deep Space Nine. I don't know why. People tell me I should go back and watch it, so I think this summer I am. I don't think I gave that a fair chance. Some of the shows that I was watching that I'm not watching anymore are Elsbeth. Started off okay. Got a little bit, I don't know, too much of the same thing. So Matlock, I like Matlock. I forgot to mention that. I really like how they did that. I kind of like how they're going with that. Looking forward to the next season. I thought it was going to be like a one season and done with, her secret stuff. I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but they're handling it really well. So, we'll have to see how that is. Love the acting, love all the actors. Really look forward to that show. And, another show that I really like, which is streaming, is All's Fair. Love all the actors. I like shows that show women as strong people. Um, Obviously, being a woman, that also is one of the reasons why I like that. But the stories are interesting. Um, I think I liked it a little bit more than some people. It's coming back. If I was a betting person, I'd say 4 to 5 seasons you might get out of that, and that's okay. They have a big cast, and they have to pay them a lot for only 10 episodes. That that being one of the problems. That's one of the things with the streaming shows is that they're like 10 to 12 episodes, and they cost a lot of money, which uh, usually isn't enough shows to make it, into syndication, and that's where they make a lot of money is by having a show being syndicated. So, if it can get to 7,500 episodes, you know, it could be on syndication, and like look at Friends, they make a lot of money off of syndication, and I've done a couple of Friends videos. Again, that's just still relevant to this day. I like it. Still funny. If there's ever nothing on and I see Friends on, oh, okay, yeah, I could watch. I could always use a good laugh. It's very, funny. I like how all of their titles of the shows are in a question. So, a little bit of interesting trivia with that. And let's see. The Gilded Life. I like that show. Um, and I'm usually not a person that likes period shows, and I really like that. Into their going to be the fourth season. Uh, Interesting to see how that goes. Bertha has changed society and has now invited some divorced women to her parties, which is a huge symbol of how times are changing. I have to see how that goes, especially since when we left the show, we did not know her state with her marriage. So that'll be interesting. Again, usually period shows aren't my favorite, but I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the stories. I really enjoyed the way that the characters developed. I really liked the way that they brought a gay character in, even way back then, as taboo as it was. Which brings me to the L Word. Yes, I'm a huge L Word fan. Like the L Word much better than Next Generation. I thought Next Generation was okay, which is a better rating than a lot of people have given it. Um, if you compare the two, no, the Next Generation kind of sucked, but our Generation Q. I'm back on Star Trek, but as a standalone type of show, it was okay, and they had a huge cast. I think that was one of their biggest problems is the cast was so big, it was hard to follow each person and give them enough time for stories to develop and so forth, which a smaller cast is a little bit easier to do. Just because you really couldn't do too much with that big. And you had the old characters, you had the new characters, you had new ones coming in, you had the boyfriends and girlfriends of them. It just got huge, and you really couldn't give enough time to develop the stories and develop the characters, which was part of the problem. And like a lot of people, they didn't have enough with the original characters. They almost should have just had some of the original characters in the first one just to introduce them, and then just had a spin-off. That might have been a better way to go. But being a L Word original fan, I love seeing all those characters, and like many people, I wish they would have done more with the original characters in Generation Q, but that's why it was called Generation Q. So, That's, it's the streaming shows, like I said, one of the things with them is that they're only having 10, maybe 12 episodes. And yeah, I understand it because they have bigger name people, the costs are higher, the sets cost more, everything, costs more. But is 10 episodes really enough? Yeah. Now I hear CBS is going to be taking a lot of the shows like Boston Blue, Fire Country, Sheriff Country, and making them 10 episodes so that they could bring in more shows at 10 episodes. I don't know if that's such a good idea. Um like I said, because of the syndication thing, well, these studio executives are smarter people than I am. I just watch the shows and talk about them. So, I'm not an expert with that. So we'll have to wait and see. Um, Another show that I do like is Sheriff Country. Surprisingly, I like Sheriff Country better than I like Fire Country. Um, Sheriff Country, I just really like, I like the people in it. They're developing the stories really well. Um, you know, I think better than Fire Country. Just my opinion. I like them both. I watch them both. But of the two, my favorite definitely is Sheriff Country. So that's it. So I'm trying to see what else I have coming up on my channel so that I could talk about it. Getting into some of the scandals on the TV shows. Some of them are a hit, some of them aren't. Some of them you guys are interested. Again, I'm still trying to learn so that I could give you people what you want. I'm diving into each characters in shows, their background, so that you could, you know, get a little bit more in tune with just a specific character. For example, I've got one on Miranda Bailey, the history of her and so forth. So then I have some like fantasy type of things. Like here's one I have here. What if Christina Yang never left Grey's Anatomy? What would it be like? And just my opinion and so forth. And then and again into the scandals, like I have Cynthia Nixon, Kim Kardashian. Uh, see, how else do I have here? Roseanne Barr. That was a quick one. Christopher Noth, Wilmer Valderrama, all sorts of things. Did a little bit of the feud between Carrie and Samantha from Sex and the City. Uh, just some interesting things that I thought would be good. Seinfeld is another show. Again, always something funny if it's on. I don't mind popping it on and getting a good laugh once in a while. One little bit of trivia is that there's always a Superman somewhere in the episode. One of the most common places is there's a statue in Jerry's bookshelf and a Superman magnet on his refrigerator, and they always show it, at least one of them, during every episode. Maybe I should do a one on trivia, little things like that. I do have a couple of trivia games on my channel. How well, can you name a show from just the scene or just a phrase in the thing? Whether a character was killed off or written off, that type of thing. I did one on the Brady Bunch. I was thinking of doing one on the Partridge Family, but I don't know. Again, I like the nostalgia type thing, but my nostalgia is a little bit different than somebody else's. Saying that I'm a baby boomer, but uh, also had one on the Carol Burnett show, and again, that's another one that still gets laughs. Uh, I don't know too many people that have seen that show that aren't familiar with the curtain Gone with the Wind uh, spin-off thing, that they did, the little skit that they did on that, and Mama, we had a whole show done, uh, spin-off of the Carol Burnett show. I mean, it was hilarious. Or, let's not forget The Dentist, uh, Tim Conway, numbing himself up. Always good for a laugh. Would always love to see that. I actually have the DVD collection of that show. I was thinking of getting it on Amazon streaming, but I don't think it comes in HD. So um, we'll see. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe I won't. Also, let me know in the comments what kind of shows you want me to uh, cover. Tracker is another one. I tried really hard not to like Tracker, but I do. I don't know. Yeah. I was a huge fan of This Is Us, and I don't know. I thought that was going to be the only show for him, but I do like Tracker. I think it's really weird though, the way he holds a gun. Most people hold it straight. He holds it at an angle. I don't know if, I'm not a big gun person, so I don't know in reality if that would work or if people actually do that. I just find that strange. Or maybe he's just trying to make it so that you could see his face a little bit better. I don't know, but it is an interesting show. Again, we'll have to see if the writing keeps up at that level, because that's usually what takes down the show, is the writing goes downhill. And sometimes it's a little bit that the actors get a little bit too tired and a little bit too comfortable playing the characters. We'll have to see how that is. So anyhow, I actually have an interview coming up in a little bit, so I'm going to have to end this live a little bit sooner than I'd like to. I'd like to thank every one of you watch. Please hit that like, subscribe button. It really does help. Comment, share this with a friend. My other channel, GLP-1 Journey in Review. If you want to know anything about GLP-1 medication, feel free to hit the subscribe and like button on that. Really appreciate you. Hopefully I'll be doing a little bit more of these lives now that my work schedule is a little bit more free, and the TV series are pretty much ending this week if they haven't ended already. Again, thinking about doing something pretty big with Madam Secretary, because that show is still relevant, and it could be going on right now with everything that's going on in the world now. It's amazing how relevant it is. So I'm going to probably rewatch that this summer and maybe do some reviews of that, maybe even go through some of the episodes. Let me know if you'd like that in the comments. Love to hear from you. Thanks for joining me.